Tennessee police are on the hunt for an estranged son of Nashville police chief who was suspected of shooting two officers. The incident happened at 2:23 p.m. at a Dollar General in La Virgin, Tennessee, which is 20 miles from Nashville. La Virgin police officers had been investigating a stolen vehicle when they made contact with the subject. La Virgin Police Chief Christopher Moose said in a press briefing, officers struggled with the subject who produced a handgun and fired shots. One officer suffered a gunshot wound to the rear left shoulder and was transported to the Vanderbilt University Medical Center. A second officer suffered a gunshot wound to the right groin and the right forearm. That officer was airlifted to the exact same hospital. The officers were identified as Ashley Bolijak and Gregory Kern. Ms. Bolijak was released from the hospital Saturday, while Kern was kept overnight for observation in stable condition. The suspect has since been identified as John Drake Jr., who is the son of Nashville Police Chief John Drake. La Virgin police said that Drake Jr., who remains on the loose, is considered armed and dangerous. The shooting prompted a shelter-in-place order, which was eventually lifted. Nashville Police Chief spoke out Saturday after learning that his son was a suspect in the shooting. Quote, "I am shocked and deeply saddened to learn that my estranged son, with whom I had a very minimal contact with over many years, is the suspect in the afternoon's shooting of two La Virgin police officers." He also stated that he also expressed his thoughts and prayers to the officers and their families. Quote, "Despite my efforts and guidance in the early and teenage years, my son, John Drake Jr., now 38 years old, resorted to years of criminal activity and is a convicted felon. He has not been a part of my life for quite some time. He now needs to be found and held accountable for his actions today. I hope that anyone who sees him or has any information about him will contact law enforcement immediately." In a post on X, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation stated a statewide alert was issued for Drake Jr., who is wanted for 2 counts of attempted first-degree murder. Now, I'm going to be honest. The police chief knew about his son. He knew that he had more than likely a propensity. He knew that he was troubled. He knew that he was not a straight arrow. And he could have done more earlier on in order to make sure that something like this was not going to specifically take place. And I know what a lot of people are going to say, like, oh, well, everybody has their own choices and yada, 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 and all the other type of stuff, right? No problem. And you are completely correct. But due to the effect that he said, and this is the police chief words, he was like, "Despite my efforts and guidance in the early and teenage years, my son Drake John, now 38." Notice how he wanted to say, like, yeah, even though he's estranged, he, really wasn't in my life and I really wasn't in his. I was still sort of kind of there in the earlier years, but now, he's 38. And this is what he decided to do. Again, everybody has to go back to the beginning. People don't just end up the way that they end up just because they're people and they were born. Nobody is just born at the age of 38 deciding to do this. Like I said, a lot of people just so happen to do things because they are seeking or they need attention. They're looking for something, right? He was screaming out to his father earlier on to give him more attention, right? That love, that type of support. Because more than likely, this police chief was not maybe the kind of nurturing father that he should have been. He more than likely was not in his life the way he should have been. That the same police chief more than likely was not as supportive as he more than likely should have been. And now, because of all of that, it culminates into this point where now he's the police chief of the city. And then he got two officers and they almost lost their life by way of somebody that came directly from his DNA and somebody that he decided that he wasn't really trying to be in their life, earlier on for whatever reason. Right? Like I said, I'm pretty sure that's a whole family story. I don't know where the mother is at this moment in time because only the police chief is talking. I would love to hear what the mother would specifically have to state about this. I would also love to hear what it is that the son would have to sit up there and state as well. Because the father is giving his 2 cents. He's like, well, it's in God's hands now. I tried earlier on. He's 38, almost 40. This is what he decided to do. I'm absolved of any and all things that have to do with him, right? He made sure to state that this is his estranged son, right? Meaning that basically they have no type of connections or barely any type of connections. They're barely around each other, talk to each other, anything like that. Whenever a parent states that they are estranged from their child, questions need to be asked. Why? Questions need to be asked. Why? And due to the fact that this is a man that is a police chief, he's more than likely been in a police force for a very long time. Very long time. He had the ample tools to potentially make sure that his son wasn't going to end up like this. He could have very easily put him in some type of training. He had the money to sit up there and more than likely, place his child in something else. Maybe, put him in boxing, right? Set him up for MMA, Taekwondo. You could have put him in a whole different avenue where it would absorb so much time and energy where he would not have had other time to really try to go out there and be around other types of people, right? Like I said before, I'm not with this whole thing of the police chief, aka the father, trying to absolve himself of any responsibility dealing with these two officers. This is your child at the end of it. This is your son, somebody that you created, somebody that you said that you are estranged from. You said that you tried. You put your efforts out there, for guidance in the early and teenage years. Did you really? How much effort did you really put through there? How many years can you attest to and count? How many days? How many weeks? How many months? Like I said before, questions have to be asked, and a lot of people aren't going to be honest because it's going to really show you who it is that they are. Some people are going to say, well, the past is the past. No, no, no. The past also stays current as long as the person decides not to change from their past ways. They're still the same person as they were in the past. Now, if you're dealing with a person that you can clearly see and account and attest to the fact that, yeah, this person has made a variety of changes through their lives that are completely different from the person that they were before. Like the person from before would have never done what this person is doing now in a positive light, in a positive manner, walking in the type of way, in the actions that they set forth in foot, right? But like I said, questions need to be asked. I don't like the fact that the father decided to do this. You're a police chief. You need to go at this a whole different way. Don't try to act like you're coming at this from a police chief second and then as a parent first. You can't even play that role due to the fact that you said that your son is estranged. You can't do that. You can't do that. Like I said before, he should have released a statement, but realistically, somebody else should have been up there talking. He should not have been the one talking. He's a little bit too close to this. Like I said before, where is your son? How do you not know the whereabouts of your son? Don't care if he's estranged or not. You, as a police chief who have ample resources, should be keeping tabs on your son that you know is a potential risk to the public, who could potentially end up inevitably taking somebody's life, as we were clearly able to see here with your two officers that are working under you. You are to blame for this. You are the one that needs to fix this. You are the one that needs to use all your resources to get your son directly off the streets and to put him where he needs to be placed. Like I said, this is crazy. And this is what happens when you have parents that, in a sense, in some type of way, shape, or form, abandon their children. This is what happens. And I keep trying to tell parents that, but people don't understand that fat means greasy. People don't understand it. But like I said, this parent learned, and he's a police chief. So if anybody else out there that got some estranged kids and all this other type of stuff, you better learn real quick. You better learn real quick before you're in this exact same predicament as this police chief.